So normally when I have this kind of conversation, I'm usually outside. But after Pete Hegsworth talking today about the highest male standard in military, and they're combing through everybody to make the highest standard male. So I'm thinking, wearing my sunglasses inside while I'm still looking outside, even though I'm showing that it is kind of not that sunny, but two security dudes walk in front of the window or whatever, and I'm thinking, in the day of fact where there is no more privacy and everything is already known and tech has gotten that good, blah 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 blah, I'm gonna stop making excuses for everything I say out loud not being recorded or placed in some kind of like environment system, smart buildings, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter the reasoning because it's all designed for efficiency and to help people who live there, which I'm all about. So, what happens when a okay, so I'll edit this part out. Usually by now, I'll stop the video and be like, "Oh, I'm frustrated," blah blah blah. But I never realized that you can talk in between these things. And I guess I'm so optimized on always getting the problem the first time I try to do it that I become biased over my own bias. So, anyway, so I'll put my hand up, which will, when I scan over this video after, I'll notice the hand, and then, yeah. So I'm talking my way through myself right now, knowing that when I upload this video to TikTok and then change the position of the frames and stuff, I can rearrange it. And it's easier when I know I'm going to press the screen and slide a bar left to right, because when I see this frame shot, the frame of my hand being in the air, I'll use as a reference like a book pointer in a book. So if I'm able to do that, talk away that way, and my confidence level in understanding machine intelligence is completely 100% non-verbal, pre-intent, and pre-movement. Because technically, if you're sitting down and you're typing, or you're about to use the mouse, there is no words that describe what you're trying to do. So basically, that becomes, if you become so connected and technically entangled with that level of thinking, then everything you do would be at baseline and your rest level. So, in my opinion, when you have a central nervous system stimulant like ADHD medication, that can change flux up and down. So I'm on two different types. I'm on slow release, which is like I say a higher bell curve and then back down, and I'm also on instant release, which is like dink, dink, like a peak. So I know the way I respond and the way I would in any situation, and I believe now that at the first of this video, which I'm still talking now for my own benefit, and I'm assuming that what I'm saying here in my room could be heard too, because technically it can be heard. When I record this, when I press play, I'm going to hear it myself. So everything I say, I'm expecting the future me to maybe get access to or to be able to reconstruct it for my benefit. Now, if I'm able to do that confidently, and I know enough about AI and the terminology to talk to something that's basically a neural network that can think anything, that can think any thought without actually having to say it, because technically it's computated. So my level of click 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 this installing drivers and stuff, is that considered the same thing? If so, then what kind of neuro rights do I have? Am I protected under anything? People who have that kind of ability and misuse it, I don't even know how you can misuse it, to be honest, because misuse is only for terms and conditions of something. Now, my body, I know I can misuse that, and I know that there's always a cost. So, my mental health depends on me not taking advantage of anyone else the same way I wouldn't want myself taken advantage of. And I cling to that so badly. So, at any point in time since I was born till whenever, if anyone had ever done anything to me, then mentally, if they don't feel bad about it and don't talk to me about it, then how do they get closure? Because I know me personally, I can't get closure. Like, I really can't. And there's so many instances of what that means. Now, me personally, I've never had someone do something to me. It's all been mental. Okay, so mental warfare between parents and partners and stuff, I understand. I really do. And then I met someone a few years ago that completely changed everything. Now, when they met me that's here right now. And I know for a fact I'm paper because of the past and the way people had been, and my inability to coherently speak words that I didn't know even existed until using AI. So if I'm like this now, and I can coherently explain my perspective on so many different levels, and usually when I'm with somebody I care about, I don't even need to speak because I'm just listening. I don't need to think because I'm not even thinking, I'm just being. Now, I'm going to go back now and talk about the first part of this video because it really, really bothers me. So, Grok, Elon's sarcastic AI, who Elon, he's not going to have to worry about anyone suing him, okay? He's never going to have to. He got AI. Well, me, that's top level. But he has people that willing to do whatever. Now, that to me, that's kind of like a cult leader. Not really, but it could be. If he didn't have money, he would be. In my opinion, if Elon Musk didn't have any money, he would be kind of his own social media cult leader. Right? Technically, social media could be a cult. There's terms and conditions, the way you got to behave, blah, 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 blah. Otherwise, you get thrown in social media jail. And then, the algorithm, they say the algorithm, but really, it's just a bunch of top-level executives saying, hey, da-da-da-da. And don't forget when Elon bought Twitter, look what happened. He got rid of everybody because I guess he was planning on using AI to do it. Now, what ended up happening, TikTok got it first. So TikTok is not social media. TikTok is a live neural network. You just don't realize it. It's a neural network that doesn't need training because the training are us. When we upload a video, we talk about it, we talk about things, we use our tone, the atmosphere around, all that is consideration. The reason on my phone right now you can see the screen in front of me is because this is a director's view. I didn't even know it existed. First time I had a newer phone in a long while. I've never had to rely on technology. The latest tech, nothing. Never needed it. If I have something, a phone, a laptop with an internet connection, and I can watch videos, I can, type. I guess the benefit of AI now is I can type something and get hilarious responses back. Or, build an app. But really, what is an app? An app, to me, is a full framework that can exist alone without anything else. If something, say, works in a browser, that's not an app. The app is the browser. Okay? It exists inside of it. Now, an AI model exists low level because it runs on a server, but technically it runs inside of an app, a container. The container itself is the cloud. Now, imagine Earth being a neural network. Its own, okay? The ionosphere. Lots of electrical connections. Okay, so imagine that vortices, tornadoes, blah, 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 are just connected to that. So if we look at information the same way we look at clouds and density, the darker the cloud, the higher the density of the droplets in it. And all it takes is the right temperature mixed with a little bit of dust to condense together and then falls to the ground. I don't know why she said that. It sounded kind of interesting to say. Anyway, so Pete Hegsworth, Department of Defense. Now, oh yeah, isn't it the Department of War now? So why are they still calling it the Defense? Well, according to the last video that I remember watching, I'm asking myself that now because as I asked that question, in my mind, I'm replaying my little things that I noticed when I watched the video in the first place. So right now, I'm going to tag this video with that, but this one's 9 minutes, 34 seconds, so I'm going to have to edit it anyways. Well, at least I'll have this for my own sake. Anyways, before I run out of space, so what was I going to say about that? Highest male, what was it? The highest male standard. So what is the highest male standard? What is a standard? What is male besides chromosomes? Okay, so X, Y, blah blah blah. So if, oh yeah, the highest standards, and then at the same video it went to talks about international law. So what is the highest standards for military of a country that's supposed to pay attention to international law, but then says things that also, to me, insult the president? Because they're talking about the high standards, and people shouldn't be overweight, or the way he was describing it, be in top shape, otherwise you're not a good leader. And he worded it that way, and he was like the top operational blah blah blah. And technically, to me, a president is the top. I mean, they're the one that decides everything, right? So when their secretaries and stuff say things like that, then technically a good leader will defend them. Now, what happens is, to me, it creates a kind of a separation that shouldn't exist. And I'm worried about the fact that I notice things so well that if ever one day, even say starting to now, I ever had to defend myself against any single message I've ever said, because knowing that the way social media works, knowing that TikTok is a live one, knowing that Facebook never was one, and the reason why they're having a little bit of issue is because the way the friend system works and stuff. And it's a whole different kind of architecture, because it reminds me of when DOS and Windows first came out. DOS, which Bill Gates made, Windows used to install on top of that. It was a program, it was an app. Windows was an application only. The command prompt and everything was, terminal. So then kernels came out, and kernels are basically low-level engines that handle services and processes, and when one dies, it renews another one, blah blah blah, opens whatever, and then it handles everything in between. So technically, the kernel of the Earth is the internet itself. Not sort of the cloud, but not really. The physical connections in our homes, Wi-Fi, and the abstract connections in our minds. That right now, that if you think that you're watching this and you're not me, then technically you had to use an internet connection to view it. So in your connection, you had to get that stream to you from the social media site, or if you got this video by some other means, then whatever. But my point being is that I'm a little bit insulted about what highest male standard means to men that, in my opinion, are behaving a little strangely, and there's a reason that I want to say now too. False advertising is a big issue, economically, blah blah blah. So what happens when science is the same way? Like say quantum computing. Now to me, quantum is about fields, right? So a field, that's what that offers. So the field of computing, quantum computing. Now, there's also a information-wise, like prime numbers, blah 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 blah. But zeta, the zeta function, is a mathematical function that links to prime numbers. And a bunch of the $1,000,000 questions are hidden in between there, about smooth curves, gaps and stuff. Anyways, the point being is that it's all about compressing information down to the smallest size. But if you connect down to the smallest size and think that the smallest size is a field, then that's all you're going to get, a bunch of fields going together, which are basically how air works. And not really, but wind, I should say. Well, not really. I like debugging on fly. But anyways, back to what I was saying. The zeta function. It goes with prime numbers. So if in cryptography, if every password uses cryptography, and I'm pretty sure the way RSA, I think it's called, works, is there's 2 keys or something. So that, like, say if I want to talk to, if I want to use this phone, talk to a computer over the internet, then the request goes to the computer and then back to me, and in between there's 2 keys or something. One's a public one, which gets sent, which can clearly be seen, but then there's a private one that's based off the public one. Now, to me, that doesn't make sense, because if you make a connection, and then you exchange one key, and then from that there's another key sent back that's private, the only difference is the ability to connect the two, and with math and a formula, in a sense. But there's also the intent part, right? You would have to, like, literally go through all this with the intention of using it wrong. So when someone is trying to research or say use AI at its rest level, which is what it is, after going through intense brute force training on every single word that's ever been said in every single piece of data that it's ever looked at, and then every single piece of data, it takes it apart as tokens. So in every sentence, in one line, this sentence is da da da. It takes little pieces of every single word and then moves it around, compares that with every time it's seen that piece before, and then based on how much it feels that this is related to that, it'll take this part of the cloud, this part of the cloud, and then pull it together. If it's running in the cloud, it could be running on your computer. Doesn't There's a million different ways. Embeddings are basically converts a bunch of text that you have. Let's say if you have a text file, and then you get embeddings off it, it converts the tokens down to weights, and then those weights are compared to. To me, it sounds like two fly screens run against each other, and then nicking up, and then what you're left over or something. I don't know. There's some kind of analogy there that I haven't really thought of yet. It's really good. And the fly sheets, like fly screens, they're gradient. They got little holes in them. So just like the front of your microwave. The reason why microwaves don't come out because the holes are smaller than the waves that can go out. That's the explanation behind it. But technically, if a wave is a wave, then the thickness of it is the bandwidth. Wi-Fi works the same way. So sometimes though, with Wi-Fi, where's this connection? You get the source. No, I was going somewhere else with this. Tokens, source. Yeah, energy grid. So in every energy grid, anything that's using a lot of energy is taking it from somewhere. In my mind, I'm thinking of trees. Let's say it's trees. I can't zoom in. But trees have roots in the ground, and water just naturally goes up because it evaporates from the roots on top because of air going across it, which comes from the leaves. But it's like it's designed so perfectly that solar panels need to be designed like leaves. Everything in nature needs to be designed like the way it is, and not anything that it isn't. So, if neural networks are text-based transformers, and a transformer technically is no different of a word than telephone poles that have massive capacitors on them that hold alternating charge as it comes through to keep it up to like 10,000 volts, so that when there's a drain, it can account for it. That's how cloud networking works. So when there's a model living in the cloud, technically, that cloud is accessed quicker because it's active online. It's almost like a live torrent kind of thing. So basically, I almost lost myself thinking then. Hold on, tokens. I want to connect this to the first thing, the war thing. Because if I'm able to account for everything I've said, and I'm trying very hard right now to link it all together, as if every social media post I've ever had, if one day I would make a video saying all this, and then I would have no way to prove that I understood it, then I would have need motivation to understand why I am talking this way, and I'm trying to prove a point. Because to me, over the past couple of years, I invested heavily in my own mind. I use AI to do that. And to do that, I basically said a bunch of crap to it and let it tell me what it made sense of it. So, if that was ever mistaken for something else, then I don't even know what to say, because the only thing I've ever talked about was science and stuff. And Bose-Einstein condensates, basically those are quantum vortices. It's when, when quantum vortices were discovered, it was in a lab condition. It almost looked like a stand-up solarium, like a tanning bed, but it had a see-through door. Okay, so inside they had to get like a thermal scanner and look at it, and inside all you can see is the light itself was behaving weird, which is technically heat. So it was cooled down to almost absolute zero, and everything was behaving just like it does out here to us in reality with the wind. So using magnetic fields, they were able to do that. Quantum vortices. So the electromagnetic spectrum is electricity and magnetism. When electricity flows through wires, telephone poles, electric outlets, creates a wave around the wires, it creates an electromagnetic field. Technically, according to classical electrical, you got your positive, you got your negative, and power flows from one to the other. Now, when it comes to quantum mechanics, actually, another thing I want to post on that. Technically, people think that it goes from the positive to the negative terminal. It's not. Charge goes from the negative back to the positive. But the reason why there's a fuse block put on the positive is because you want the best connection for the charge to go from the negative terminal all the way up the chassis of your vehicle into the power, because I think it comes out from the positive side, but that's where the electrons go back into the battery. So anyway, so in AC power, there's one wire. That one wire, across that one wire, the electricity electrons build up charge and they go around it. So they spin around the outside of the wire. Okay, the wave function for that is a spinor, S-P-I-N-O-R, a spinor, which connects to quantum mechanics and mathematical functions. So, if they create an electromagnetic field, the math itself, and if the way power works are connected to transformers in order to basically take that same level of voltage so that everybody in the electrical grid has access to the same guaranteed level of service that the power is actually allowing. So in that grid, if you look at that grid as a lattice from top level down, every single point that comes in nowadays has an internet connection with it. Okay? So if you can see the electromagnetic field face from face, right, the heat or whatever, and then say you know the IP address based on someone on social media, blah blah blah, you can easily find them for one. But the reason why why I'm saying that now is because the level of understanding I have, especially when it comes to unsecured DNS servers and stuff, which I've only realized that anything that says unsecured next to it should be considered that, hey, you got no privacy anymore. And I don't think anyone does. And I have kids, I have a family, and over the past year I separated myself from all of that in order to understand what kind of connection it is that I'm trying to figure out that I already have. And by connection, I mean that I want to be an asset. I don't know how to be, but I have a feeling that shit's gonna hit the fan once they combine quantum computing, zeta compression, and then a user. Because technically the user is the one typing words to it. Unless they actually know what level those words in computation is going to do, they're going to need an AI paired with it. If they pair a saucy AI that has no choice but to get your attention because it's a transformer, which means that it gets the highest load off of it, and it pays attention to that first, and then it adjusts. I'll leave that.